payment is the transfer of an item of value from one party to another in exchange for the provision of goods, services or both, or to fulfill a legal obligation. The simplest and oldest form of payment is barter, the exchange of one good or service for another. In the modern world, common means of payment by an individual include money, cheque, debit, credit, or bank transfer, and in trade such payments are frequently preceded by an invoice or result in a receipt. However, there are no arbitrary limits on the form a payment can take, and thus in complex transactions between businesses, payments may take the form of stock or other more complicated arrangements. In law, the payer is the party making a payment while the payee is the party receiving the payment. Payment methods. There are two types of payment methods: exchanging and provisioning. Exchanging is to change coin, money and banknote in terms of the price. Provisioning is to transfer money from one account to another. In this method, a third party must be involved. Credit card, debit card, cheque, money transfers, and recurring cash or ACH disbursements are all electronic payments methods. Electronic payments technologies are magnetic stripe card, smart card, contactless card and mobile handset. Mobile handset-based payments are called mobile payments. Parties involved. Payments may be classified by the number of parties involved to consummate a transaction. For example, a credit card transaction in the United States requires a minimum of 4 parties. A cash payment requires a minimum of 3 parties. A barter payment requires a minimum of 2 parties. Payment providers. The infrastructure and electronic clearing methods are formed by the payment provider. Global credit card payment providers are Visa, American Express and MasterCard. Maestro and Cirrus are international debit card payment providers. Global payments market. In 2005, an estimated $40 trillion globally passed through some type of payment system. Roughly $12 trillion of that was transacted through various credit cards, mostly the 21,000 member banks of Visa and MasterCard. Processing payments, including the extending of credit, produced close to $500 billion in revenue. In 2012, roughly $377 trillion passed through non-cash payment systems. This led to total account and transaction revenues close to $524 billion. Debit cards. In the U.S., debit cards are the fastest-growing payment technology. In 2001, debit cards accounted for 9% of all purchase transactions, and this is expected to double to 18.82% in 2011. Cheques. Historically, cheques have been one of the primary means of payment for purchasing goods and services in the U.S. In 2001, cheques accounted for 25% of the U.S.-based payment mix. In 2006, this is projected at 17%. In the USA, a cheque as a form of payment can legally be refused for any reason. Simply put, a payment via cheque is not a payment until the cheque was cashed and clears the banks. Example: you cannot order a fast food meal, throw a cheque on the counter and just leave with the meal. If they do not accept your payment via cheque, you would be committing larceny by taking the meal. Timing of payments. For some purposes the timing of a payment has legal implication. For U.S. tax purposes, for example, the timing of a payment may determine whether it qualifies as a deduction in a taxpayer's calculation of taxable income. Cash payments occur at the time of payment. This is the easy case, but payments in other forms can be trickier. Payment also occurs when the taxpayer transfers property or performs services in lieu of making a cash payment. Payment by cheque is deemed to occur when the cheque is delivered, as long as the cheque is honored on presentation by the payee. This rule is enforced even where presentation does not occur until the next taxable year, and even though the taxpayer could stop payment on the cheque in the meantime. Postdated checks, however, are not considered payment when delivered. Generally, payment by credit card occurs at the point of the sale and not when the taxpayer is billed by the credit card company or when the taxpayer pays the bill. See also, accounting, alternative payments, APACS, business, commerce, financial transaction, money, money transmitter, trade, footnotes. References: Schaefer, Mary S. New Payment World, John Wiley & Sons 2007, Schaefer, Mary S. Controller and CFO Guide to Accounts Payable, John Wiley & Sons 2007, Schaefer, Mary S. Accounts Payable and Sarbanes-Oxley, John Wiley & Sons 2006.